So how do I know if what I'm seeing is what you're seeing? And what you're seeing is what I'm seeing, and what they see is what other people see? Well, today we're going to be talking about screen calibration. If you need to do it, why you need to do it, when you need to do it, why it's important, and everything in between. Let's do it. So monitor calibration. Why is it important? Well, to be honest, if you're just taking pictures casually, if you're a hobbyist, if you're just getting started and you're just posting to Instagram, you're taking stuff for fun, it's probably not a big deal. I wouldn't honestly spend a lot of time on it, and you might want to maybe skip this video. If you are getting into it more seriously, if you're a professional, then it's important to understand why screen calibration is so important. So there's a few instances that right off the bat, if these are things that you do, you're going to want to consider calibrating your screen. And that is, of course, number one, if you're doing print work. You've spent the money on the cameras, on the lenses, you've got a vision, you've spent all your time editing, you want it to be an accurate representation of what you're doing. And I'll give you a perfect example of this. A quick story about a photo of mine that I took. Probably my favorite photo, my most passionate photo I've ever taken. And I love this photo. And I spent weeks, probably maybe even a months, editing this photo to perfection, to put it into a competition, several in fact, and I got it to exactly where I wanted it to be. It was perfect for me, and I submitted it. And it did pretty well. It won, in fact. It won a lot of things. Now, I had been editing on a laptop that I had, and it was a good laptop. I spent some money. I had a 4K display and a graphics card and all these things. So, I thought, I didn't really think too much about it. Now, when I got more serious, I wanted a desktop. I wanted something with more power. I wanted a good monitor with great color reproduction, and I invested. And when I pulled all my files over from my laptop to my desktop, I just about died. I was shocked at what I saw, and what I saw was not the picture that I edited. And the reason being is the monitors weren't the same. They didn't have the same capabilities. They didn't have the same color gamut to reproduce the colors and the vision that I had. So what I had actually submitted wasn't the vision that I had in my mind of my own artwork. And as an artist, as somebody that is passionate about this, I think it's one of the most important things is being able to articulate your work and the vision that you had originally. It's important to me anyways. And at that point, when I saw the difference, I knew that I had to get more serious about calibrating to have consistency. So at that point, I looked into a few different things, and I got a calibrator. I started researching, I dug in. Basically, I looked at the competition that I was going from and what they were going to be looking at it on, which is basically a standard. And there are a few standards of what you can kind of expect, what most monitors and most setups kind of use when it comes to color temperature and brightness and the black point and whatnot. And I went with that, so I set everything as though the judges would see it on their monitor. So for me, it's really important that I have that accurate representation of the work that I want to put forward. And screen calibration is really the only way that you're going to do that. If you use multiple screens, screen calibration is another way to sync all of your screens to have the closest possible color, so that if you're working with multiple screens or computers, if you're working with a team, if you're an editor or a graphics worker, you need that consistency, of course. If you're a portrait photographer, having accurate skin tones is obviously very, very important, and that's another consideration. So doing a quick recap, if you're interested in print work, competition, or dealing with multiple screens, or do a lot of portrait work, then a screen calibrator might be for you. So maybe you've checked out a few screen calibrators and you've seen that they're not overly cheap. They can be decently priced and they can be extremely expensive. There's a huge range. There's a lot of different companies out there. So how do you really know what you need? And why not just buy it and use it and return it, right? Well, the reason is that your monitor is constantly changing. It's losing quality every month, and it's actually recommended that people calibrate their screens about once a month. Some people do it more, some people do it a little bit less. It's completely up to you, but it is ever changing. So consider that. For me, I always take the buy once, cry once approach. I don't like to buy the cheapest thing, and I typically don't buy the most expensive one either, but I'll find something in the medium range or on the higher end and wait for a sale perhaps. That's just kind of how I work. So here's me actually editing my color profiles and calibrating my monitor. And I wanted to give you a first-hand look at exactly what's happening. And I did play it back. Unfortunately, it's not quite as dramatic as I would see it, but you can definitely see as I cycle through here between calibrated and uncalibrated, just the major difference in color, in shadows, in highlights. And the more you look at it, you see just how important it is to have that accurate experience. So depending on the monitor that you do own, it's quite possible that actually calibrating your screen won't have much or any benefit. And that really depends on the capabilities of your monitor. And in this day and age, there's a lot to consider when picking and choosing a monitor. From resolution, to screen size, to contrast ratios, color gamut, and refresh rate. It goes on, but it doesn't have to be overly complicated. If you're someone who loves the technology and the technical specifics of things, there's lots of videos out there really diving in and explaining every little detail of all those things I mentioned. But for the sake of time and to keep this video pretty reasonable, I created another video on how to choose a photo and video editing monitor that breaks down the basics of just what you might be looking for. Check it out here. If you do have a newer monitor, chances are a screen calibrator is going to make a big difference. And if you're not sure how it performs, check out the model number online to see how your monitor performs. If you do have a screen calibrator, you can use it to see exactly how it performs with each color space in real time. Well, that's it for this one, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I hope it helped you out, and I hope it answered some questions you might have had, and now you can see if this is something you really want to invest in. If you're curious about what I use, I actually picked up the Spider 5 series calibrator and the Elite version, and it's turned out to be a great little calibrator. Functionality is great, ease of use is very, very simple to use, and I couldn't beat the price. It was a massive sale and I picked it up and I haven't been disappointed. I will leave a link in the description below if you want to pick one of these up, and I do have a review on the full thing, so if you wanted to see a bit more about how it works and the process and everything, check that out too. If this did help you out, hit that like and subscribe button, drop your questions and comments down below, and like always, make mistakes, be yourself, and get out there and take some more pictures. See you next time, guys.